All right, 1, 2, 3. Hey, Summoners, it's October 13th, 2016, and welcome to episode 7 of Summoners Sift, a League of Legends podcast. With me today, I have two wonderful humans, Projector.
Hey, guys, good to be here.
And Contractor.
Hey, guys.
Hey, and today we're going to be talking about League of Legends. How have you guys been?
I've been pretty solid.
Yeah, we dodged a hurricane. We're still alive. We didn't succumb.
Always a plus.
Didn't succumb to the Matthew, so that's pretty good. That was excellent. I actually didn't lose power the entire time, surprisingly, which was pretty amazing. Played a lot of League. What about you guys? You been playing? I know Projector has been taking some time off.
Yeah, I've been out of town the last week. I completely dodged the hurricane because I was in Atlanta and then I was in Tennessee. So it was nice, though, that when I came back to South Carolina, all of my stuff was perfectly fine. So I was happy to find that out. But yeah, no, I've been out of town visiting people and doing some work stuff. So I just got back yesterday and have am trying to catch back up on all the changes that happened in the last week.
Yeah.
What? You live in South Carolina?
Yeah, I'm just north of Columbia.
So.
Okay.
What about you, man?
Yeah.
You been playing?
We also didn't lose internet or power the whole entire time.
Wow, that's awesome. Good for you. We were very lucky. If that thing moves 10 miles inward, it's
Devastating.
Bone Town, we're all screwed, but it didn't, so yay. So that gave me a ton of time to play a lot of League, and I've been playing a lot. I've been playing some move speed Maokai. Which no, absolutely not, but I won a game on it. I went 8-3-25 in a game on full move speed Maokai. That's right. I jungled him with Runic Echo's Dead Man's Plate, Luden's Echo, Righteous Glory, and a Proto Belt. That was my final build. Surprisingly, it's really hard to close a game out as move speed Maokai. It's pretty good. Proto Belt's pretty good on him, man.
If your intention is to hug the shit out of people, that's fine.
I absolutely did that. That W is doing a lot of damage too when you have that much AP with the Ludens too. So I had the Ludens proc and the Runic Echo. I'm boop, and just popping on people. It was pretty funny.
Speaking of plants.
Yeah, so you just want to go right into it.
Let's just jump right in.
Let's just go right in. So,
oh man.
So today they have announced that they are toying around. Now let's precurse with, we don't know this is actually going to be in the game. We know that it's something that they're trying to do. They do a lot of weird stuff in preseason, but in some form or fashion, they're trying to introduce plants into the game. And as part of doing this, they're sort of removing the smite buffs from the game. And they are adding these plants, which are how would you describe them? They're kind of buffs, sort of, that you attack.
They're neutral Zyra plant, seeds, almost. That's what they kind of look like, that spawn throughout the jungle and the river. Right.
So, and they do different things, right? So what we've seen so far is one that's basically a Ziggs satchel charge, one that heals, has a significant heal on it, but they've clarified that the one that has a heal actually has a slow built in as you eat them. So you can't just be running from somebody and run over the thing and get a free heal and haha, I got away. And then the other one that they brought in was a Scryer's Bloom, which is sort of like a hawk shot in a cone. You have to attack in a direction and it reveals. The example they gave is he attacks it and he can see dragon, and then he goes dumpsters a Nunu who's taking the dragon. And I have mixed feelings about this.
I don't even have mixed feelings about this.
So
I have very definite one-way feelings.
So I think it's important to
I'm positive.
Yeah, so I think it's pretty important to precurse with a lot of things. So they spawn in semi-random locations in the jungle, sort of like barge chimes, where there's certain points that they can spawn. They respawn after a winter or regrowth. The spawn points are fairly restricted for the early game, making sure they can't have too much impact on early gank roots or invades, which, hey, I'm all about that. We also ensure that plants have extremely strict rules around fairness. teams should have balanced access to each plant that shows up in the game. So I would guess that you're going to see some sort of like synergistic spawning. Like, oh, there's one here, one here. And then they also telegraph themselves so that players have adequate windows to know that they're there. So they show as a seedling and everybody can see them 30 seconds before they're used, right? So I personally, I'll give mine because I think you have a much more in-depth and pure hatred of this thing. I think that this is sort of, I feel like this is really forced. It's like very unnecessary. I don't really feel like we need this. I feel like the jungle's in a pretty good spot right now. I like the buffs personally. I can understand their thought process behind it because the buffs sort of have been a little solved, and it's like these ones are good, these ones are bad, and there's only certain times of the game, but I kind of like them. I've liked the smite buffs personally. I also feel like I just don't need these in my game. It's just yet another thing for me to think about. So that's my feelings on it. We'll see. But what do you think, projected?
Okay, so I'm gonna precursor this with like every season they change the jungle, and to some extent, and I have issues with that because typically, except for like the minion and tower changes, really a laner doesn't have to relearn their lane ever. It's standard the same way, the same thing you're doing, and yet with the jungle every season you're having to relearn things, and with this change pretty much everyone has to learn it now. What are those charges going to do? What are those plants going to do? My issue with this is a couple things. Number one, without smite buffs in the jungle, I really don't have to think about when I'm using my smite anymore. And while some people are happy about that, I think there's a bit of strategy and something to be said about a point I made in an earlier episode, where as a jungler, you need to be knowing what you're going to be doing in the next 1 to 2 minutes. And smite was a part of that, knowing, hey, if I use my smite here, I won't have it coming up soon. And you get punished if you don't use your cooldowns correctly. Here is just another way to even remove that, where you don't even have to worry about your cooldowns now because it doesn't matter. The other thing is this takes away a little bit of jungler relevancy because every player can use these now. And it takes away the Scryer bloom takes away the need for wards to some extent when you're contesting objectives, and
depending on where it spawns, right?
And depending on, if you're going for a dragon control and you get punished because your team didn't have any wards and didn't establish vision control, then the other team has earned that dragon, and all of a sudden there's this random object that comes in and steals that from you. It's okay. So I sent you a video before the podcast started of this Liverpool Sunderland game in soccer in the Premier League in 2009, where a beach ball flies onto the field and someone kicks the soccer ball. And if the beach ball hadn't been there, it would have gone would have either been saved or have missed the goal completely. But because it bounces off the beach ball and goes in, they count it as a goal because at that moment, the beach ball was a part of the field, as if it had hit the ref. I have issues with that being a regular thing. Here are some random things that we're throwing in the game that do not reward player skill. In fact, they kind of reward player ignorance or idiocy. You catch yourself at a bad out and you got lucky that there was a plant there.
Well, a lot of people were making that argument when the dragons were introduced, right? They were like, well, what if they have a poke comp and 2 of these ocean drakes spawn, and that's going to be really bad because now the Nidalee Jace stuff is going to that comp is way better because they got 2 ocean drakes in a row,
Yeah, but it's different from a comp that has more macro goals as far as rewarding your micro kill. Rewarding your micro level play for a kill, and that satchel charge gets you away when you were overextended and without any mobility, and all of a sudden you get that satchel charge that gets you away. RNG is a good thing to a certain extent, but I think adding it for the sake of adding it and using it more is really kind of frustrating. And I can no longer, get Raptors to check for, or to get Oracles to check for wards as I'm going in for a gank. I can no longer use it for specific strategic things around the map. I'm stuck using it wherever it is. It's not even just RNG; it's a limited RNG. It's RNG that limits your options, actually, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not super. I think the more I think about this, I'm actually very frustrated that they're removing smite buffs. I'm actually more frustrated that smite buffs are being removed than these stupid things being introduced. you know,
Yeah, I can feel that. I can understand that.
What about you, Contractor?
I love him.
I knew it.
Speaking of someone who plays Zyra, I'm sure you're like, "Woo, this is great," right?
It has nothing to do with Zyra. It's so whenever we're fighting over an objective like Dragon, or whatever, and there's something like the scrying plant, or basically the hawkshot plant, or whatever they want to call it.
Yeah.
The reason why I like it is it is something else that you can fight over, right? Because both teams know about it, and they have like the 30-second window. If they do have vision around it, they know it's going to spawn, right? It's going to be there. So that being there is basically the same thing as fighting, say, your top side, and that's the same thing as fighting over a pink ward that's above Dragon and that bush right on top of it, right?
Yeah.
It is a small thing that both teams know about. They both have presented information, and they can both utilize that one way or another. One team can get it to maintain vision control over an objective that they can't pressure because they're basically being zoned by someone, and the other team basically wants to hit it, so they can't have that, and also have the ability to basically have vision over that wall, so the jungler can't come over and smite it, so they can actually fight it. It's like little tiny objectives that they want to fight over, and that was the purpose. Like, they wanted people to actively fight over blue buff. They wanted people to actively fight over red buff. And it was important to do so. Same thing with Dragon Bear. And I think this is one of those things that is smaller, but it is something that adds complexity to the game because it is something you do potentially want to fight over. Sometimes it's going to be completely irrelevant, but sometimes it's going to be very important.
I mean, maybe. Again, like, I wasn't super happy about the dragon changes when they introduced the dragon changes because I'm adverse to change, and I hated the smite buffs when they initially introduced them. I was like, yeah, it's stupid. Why do I have to, But, like, now I'm actually sitting here saying that I'm upset that they're going to remove smite buffs from the game. So
I don't think they actually even need to remove the smite buffs in the game, to be honest.
I think that's part of this change, correct? Like, am I misunderstanding? The intention is to remove smite buffs from the game. Yeah.
I don't think they necessarily have to. It is kind of weird to have both in the game at the same time, but it would also potentially be fine.
Yeah.
Like, it makes the jungle very complicated then, but the jungle already has been.
But I see. Okay, so I'm going to talk about this specifically from the Scryer's Bloom point of view because I think that one actually has the most potential to really kind of throw something out. But like, if you have a vision control of an area, or you're the team, Scryer's Bloom, there's no counterplay to that if your team gets it, or if the other team gets it. If you're doing Dragon, and they hit this, there's no way to deny that vision. Whereas with wards, there is counterplay with trinkets or pink wards or otherwise. There's ways to secure your control over an area, whereas Scryer's Bloom doesn't let you do that. And this is now, this is a Hawkshot is an ability that one person in the game has. This is an ability that potentially all 5 members of the other team can have. And if it spawns while your team is
but you have 30 seconds though. I mean, remember that 30 seconds before where it's going to spawn and what type it's going to be, right?
It doesn't show up on the minimap, so that's number one, which I'm thankful for to an extent. So it doesn't show up on the minimap. But yeah, but that's one more thing. There's already enough times where I've gone to Dragon and be like, oh no, we can't do it, or Baron, I've been like, oh no, I can't do it right now because of Twisted Fate Ultimate being up.
Yeah.
And now there's one more thing that's going to make those objectives even more like narrowing their windows of opportunity even more, in my opinion.
I gotcha.
Do we know how long the hawkshot lasts?
I don't think they've actually said. Yeah, they haven't said that yet.
Where they the number wise, because think about it. Like, if it's only a couple seconds, or it's even 15 seconds, you do have the time to wait it out. You do the same thing where you control the dragon with the pink wards that you already have in place, and you zone them with your ability, like you frontliners like Maokai and such, and you control the vision. And sometimes you just have to wait it out, or you fight over that tiny objective and don't give it to them.
I was gonna say sometimes you can't wait it out like Barons. Sometimes Baron DPS just destroys you.
Well, I'm saying you don't start it.
Yeah, I have give me March will come and I'll have accepted it and gotten over it. It's just like this really frustrates me because now I feel like I kind of have to relearn a big part of the jungle, and I have to relearn a part of a role which already has so much to it.
I agree,
and
I wish that laners had to do the same thing.
Yeah,
no one had to do it, or everyone has to do it, because like that's it bugs me a lot.
The other thing I'm kind of interested about, they say some things about Smite here, like, and so can we talk a little bit about like how actually Smite is being changed? So in this article, in what I'm actually reading, it says something along the lines of, it says, where's the piece about red buff Smite? It says like we moved the piece of, okay, yeah, we moved the interesting tactical reactive power of red buff Smite on into Smite as well itself, as well as the new restorative honey fruit that spawn in the river. Okay, so does that mean Smite has an automatic like red buff Smite built into it?
Heals every single time?
So is there a heal piece?
It probably heals you for a certain amount every time.
That's going to open up the jungler pool quite a lot, actually.
Yeah, so that's actually
the jungler pool's already huge, so
that's actually kind of an interesting change. Like, I think
I like that.
But I like not having to smite red, although I think it was an interesting tactical decision. Although I think that was kind of a lame thing because it forced you to start in certain places on certain junglers, and it was like, okay, well, I have to start red because I need to do this type of clear, and I need to be able to smite red buff, otherwise I'm going to die, you know. That's interesting as well. So I wonder what that means. Like, what does that mean as far as like, I wonder like with the smitems and stuff, I wonder if they're going to look at those as well, or if they're going to leave those like they are.
I just wish they, like, I think they could have reworked the jungle buffs a little bit. I know that Gromp used to be super strong in the tank meta, but like Krug's buff, for example, really is only worth something on your first couple of clears. After that, you're basically never smiting Krugs again except for, you know, speed. You know, I definitely feel that there were those that were valued more than the other, but not having, you know, wolf camp, when you're coming from behind, being able to smite your wolf camp is one of the best things. Or even when you're ahead, like, I'm gonna like really miss some of the. There are gonna be moments where I'm like, man, I wish I could smite this for this specific reason. And now I feel like I'm stuck. Like I can't do that now. Especially. Go ahead.
Sorry, you continue. I really like the Raptor Smite, but man, Wolf Smite was oppressive as hell when you're behind. Like for like as far as like keeping you in the game, like smiting wolves over and over again is like something that you like need to really actively fight over when you're ahead. Because that buff being basically being able to control the jungle with a piece of vision that you cannot do anything about.
Yeah,
it buys you so much time, and as soon as it's down again, you can go and smite it again, and it does the same thing. So
yeah, like it was. So I think they could have probably like changed some stuff a little bit, but for the most part, like I think it was fine. Like the jungle pool is huge right now. There are more like before Nunu even got his buffs and his like super OP now. Like I got beat by Nunus, I got beat by Amumu's, I got beat by Darius. Like,
yeah, I mean the jungle pool is pretty extensive. The jungle pool
is huge.
Yeah, but there are certain champions that just can't jungle anymore. I mean, like, which I kind of am okay with, but I understand where Riot's trying to like open that pool up even further, because putting the regen on Smite like definitely is a big thing. Right.
Yeah, and I think that'll help. I think that's going to make up for the because there were some champions that needed Krug buff or needed whatever to be able to actually clear, and so I'll give them that. Like I think that's depending on how big the heal is, that will help.
Yeah. It'll be interesting too, like to see frequency, like how predictable the spawns are. I mean, I think there's a lot of stuff here that we can't really.
Now I feel like I have like 6 extra. Objectives that I now have to keep track of as a jungler outside of what I already have to keep track of.
I can totally hear that.
More reasons for my team to blame me.
With the changes of the Smite healing as well, it's also going to open up a lot of healing paths for a lot of people as well.
Yeah.
So like all the things that you thought you knew about before, where you'd want to go to his red or his blue to counter him at level 3 because you knew that possible. A lot of things are going to change, so you're going to have to relearn a lot of stuff with the jungle, which I'm okay with. I want us to have to learn something actively new about the game every season to change it up. But I want lanes to do it as well. I don't want it to just be jungle.
Well, I mean, there is one change. So plants, I think, like, I guess to sort of wrap that up, we don't know how bad it's going to be yet, right? Like, so I'm not super excited, but we'll see. Like, I know you're less excited, even a negative excitement. But I think an interesting change too that's coming that will affect lanes, and sadly, it's like one item, is Aegis, right? So that's the other big change that they're talking about is Aegis is a problem. It has been for a long time. Anybody who's been playing League of Legends knows for an extensive period of time, they've always had problems with Aegis. In every format like that it's ever existed, Aegis has been an issue. So that magic resist aura is a thing. So now they're basically removing Aegis but putting in other items, right? Is the idea. They haven't really defined this yet. But they're saying that they want to create, so the quote is, "We want to create several new protective items that are more distinct. Instead of purchasing a generic protection item, we want supports to be able to look at a host of items and think, which one protects my ally in a way which aligns with my playstyle?" And I actually like that idea. I mean, they cite Mikhail's Crucible as being one of those and Ardent Sensor as being another. So going to the support main, Contractor, like, what do you think about this change? Like, so they remove Aegis from the game and they put other items in, right? What happens?
I mean, it means I won't go first item lock it anymore.
Yeah. Well, it won't exist, right? Like, it probably won't exist.
What I did every single game. Yeah. So a lot of what I've been playing recently has been a lot of Nami and a lot of Karma. And Karma, you build her basically just build her as a support tank now.
Mm-hmm.
With wind speakers and stuff in the defensive tree, or the offensive tree, depending on your playstyle. And then you build first item lock it, and then that combined with Mantra E makes team fights a nightmare for the enemy team.
Right.
Like you just gain 700 HP for your whole team.
Right.
And then your cooldown for your shields usually only 4 to 5 seconds. So it's too good. It's too good at what it does, and it is very generic. Like, there's nothing distinct about it. That's just what it does, and you build it almost. If they have magic damage on their team at all, you build it. Even if they don't, sometimes it's efficient enough to still just build it.
Well, I mean, that's why they nerfed Frozen Heart originally, right? Because if you remember, old Frozen Heart was better. It was much better than the item it currently is, and they were like, it's a problem. And you built Frozen Heart literally every game. Like, it was like somebody on your team built a Frozen Heart. Yeah, so
it was too efficient. It gave you the CDR and it gave you a buff. Even if they don't have attack speed based characters, it was still just good enough.
Yep, just good enough.
People still need auto attacks.
Yep, they still need auto attacks. And so I think personally, if as a person who played when Runic Bulwark was a thing, Runic Bulwark was super oppressive, and I actually feel like, and that item, and then they sort of nerfed it and made Aegis, but Aegis is still basically the same item, because what they did is when they removed Runic, they basically just added, because Locket used to be a different item. So you had Locket and you had Runic Bulwark, and then they basically like smushed the two together but nerfed the crap out of Runic Bulwark, right? So I think it's a good thing, because that item is still oppressive. It has been. I mean, still back the entire time that I've played League of Legends, like, Aegis has been like an item that you always built. Always. I mean, it's just always been good. Like, I am pretty happy that they're removing it. They also can't kill, and the one of the big things that they talked about is, like, we can make it worse for supports, but the problem is if we make it worse for supports, all that happens is a jungler starts building it, which is what's happened in the past. Back then, Runic Bulwark would just be built by the jungler because he could build it faster, because he had a little more mana or a little more gold than the old supports. So it was like, oh, well, I can build this thing, so here it is, you know.
Yeah, whenever Lee Sin can afford to buy it in the early game, and it is still completely fine to do so, we kind of got a problem here.
Yeah.
Like, that's not what he's supposed to be doing in the early game. That's not really what he's meant for. That's not really what his playstyle is supposed to be around, and yet it's still inefficient enough that he can just go get it and it's fine.
Yep. So
because it gives you enough value off just being the item itself.
And that's an actually great segue into our next topic. Look at the Contractors setting them up, and I'm just knocking them down. So R.I.P. Aegis, we'll miss you. You know, you've been good. You'll join the ranks of Heart of Gold and Philostone and all those. Force of Nature. Well, nobody built Force of Nature. Okay, like that I
built Force of Nature.
Okay, that was like one champion. All right. So I've been playing Lee Sin. So the Lee Sin experiment has happened. I have never been a Lee Sin player, but this goes into a lot of what we talk about on the cast of, hey, like, if you want to climb, if you want to learn, like, if you want to do well, play one champion, pick them and learn them. And so I've been playing a ton of Lee Sin, and I got to tell you, for those first 10 games, it was real bad. real bad. And I'm talking like not like kind of bad, like 2 and 4 bad. It was like 1 and 10 bad, like every game. You know, like, oh wow, I'm in the middle of all of them. I took this wrong cue. I'm dead. Like,
you just mute everyone really quickly.
That's exactly right.
Mine's telling me no, but my body's telling me
yes. And I took a lot of bad cues, but starting to get back to a decent win rate, climbing with them now on the Smurf. You know, I'm like almost gold on that Smurf playing him, and man, I gotta say, like, if you're on the fence about like learning a mechanically skilled champ and like taking time, like if you have some stuff to, like, if you've accomplished your season goals and like you've already hit where you want to hit, I highly recommend taking one of those like sort of mechanically intensive champions that you've sort of been scared of for a while, because Lee is that way. Lee is a very he's a very polarizing champion, and in all of the, because people they treat you differently when you play that champion. I've never actually seen this before because I've played like the OPs, and like stuff like that, but never like Lee, the really mechanically difficult ones. Dude, people will flame you the second you miss a Q. I mean, you miss a Q, you're getting flamed. You kick a guy the wrong way.
Play this champion.
Yeah, well, you even play this.
Okay, some Qs deserve to be played, but like,
I understand.
There are some,
but there's a lot to think about when you're playing Lee. Okay, there's a lot of buttons to push. Like, there's a lot going on. All of his buttons push twice. Like, my gosh, the only button that doesn't push twice is his R, and that's like, it involves a plethora of button pushes beforehand. Like, so. Yeah. I mean, that was, I don't want to talk in this for too long because it's just like, hey, I'm playing a champion, but like, if you are wondering, like, if you should try to like learn a mechanically skilled champion, if you've already hit your goal for the season, now's the time to do it, because you can just goof around and whatever.
And I'll say this, and this is actually how I learn junglers too. If there's a champion you're scared of, like I'm Nidalee is one of those where I've been like scared to learn her. Just open up a custom game, a lot of them, put 3 intermediate bots on the map and just play the game mechanically. Just get a bunch of kills, learn to farm, and learn to like AFK farm with that champion where you don't have to focus on the farming mechanics. Because if you go into games and you're worried about your mechanics, then if something unexpected happens, you're screwed. You can't think about the macro. So you want to be able to just practice on bots and practice on clearing the jungle a bunch of times, just so you understand how the champion works, and then go into normals and do it. You got to spare 10, 15 minutes, open up a custom and mess around for a bit and just keep learning. And that makes the champion a lot less scary to learn.
Yeah. I mean, that's
use sandbox mode.
Oh wait.
Oh man. Oh, that's right. That doesn't exist.
Dude, slowly but surely, we can get plans, but we can't get a sandbox mode. But they're giving us replays, so you know what? Like, I'll take it.
Their next argument is gonna be, well, we have plans, but now we need some soil for them. So we've got this box where we're gonna put all the plants next season. They're integrating this step by step.
That's pretty funny. So, all right, now real quick, like before we get into listener questions, let's go through. If you remember, we made some worlds predictions that were really incorrect. So, again, not an analyst podcast. This is not Summoner's Insight that you were listening to. So, like, we have no idea which teams, as clearly evidenced by our selections here.
A decent number of them.
I did okay, so I'll run through mine real quick. Group A, I got completely wrong. I thought it was going to be G2 and CLG, and neither of them advanced. So that was a little bit of NA bias. I missed the boat on G2. I think a lot of people thought G2 was going to be a lot better. I always pick one big team to not make it out of the groups, and I thought Rox was the team. Missed the boat on Albus, but I think everybody did. I don't think anybody expected Albus to get out.
Nobody agreed to scrim with them. It was kind of hard to get a judgment on them whenever no one gave them respect and time of the day. And then
apparently there were like 200 people that had their pick'ems right after groups were over.
Wow, that's insane. Considering how many people do pick'ems, like, whew.
Yeah.
So what about you guys? Like, let's go through them by group. So in Group A, did anybody get Group A right at all?
Nope.
Group A was what? Rox, Albus? No, I did not get Group
Yeah, so it's Rox Albus.
I had Rox CLG.
Okay, so you had Rox CLG, so you were hoping for an A. And then what about you, Projector?
Nope, none.
All right. So
I got 2 right, which is Rox and CLG.
well, CLG didn't advance. So you had Rox,
No, but
or you had
I got
CLG.
2 right as far as their position.
I gotcha. Okay.
That's what I mean.
So you got some points. Yeah, I was completely wrong. I got all of them in the wrong spot. All right. So going on to Group B, the exact opposite. I get every one of these right because I'm a genius. I'm a genius. All right. So I had SKT obviously because they're SKT, and then I had Cloud9. I am proud of myself in that I took an NA team in each one of my groups to advance. So even though that didn't really work out well for me as far as points, I'm very happy. Nation's pride. Yeah. I got that one all right. What about you guys?
I got the first and second right, but not the third and fourth.
Correct. That's
Yeah,
exactly
that's a
number one's a free roll. Number 2 was just basically me hoping for NA's hopes and dreams.
Yeah.
Number 4 I didn't really care about.
Right immediately after this podcast, we will be hoping for NA's hopes and dreams. Cloud9 carries to victory.
as we're casting. I mean,
Yeah.
it's
So
happening.
it's going.
Happening. That's all I'm gonna say.
It's happening right now. So, all right. So Group C again. So I'm whiffed on this one. I got some though. I actually had Edward and H2K advancing, which is what happened. I had their roles switched. I didn't think H2K would actually win the group, but they did. And then I got the 2 at the bottom. I whiffed those as well. So
I'm the other way around. So I got. I had the same thing happen with EDG and H2K, but I got the last 2 right in order.
I gotcha. All right.
So.
I only got one of those right. EDG.
Good job. So all right. So you had HQ. Did you have HQ coming out of that?
No, I did not.
Oh, okay. All right. So, all right, and then Group D.
Oh gosh.
I got one of these right. One.
I got 1 right too, and it was Splice.
Yeah.
Yep.
I
got 2 right.
I got 2 points out of this. I had RNG number 1, which is wrong technically, but they advanced, so I got 2 points. And then I had TSM number 2, and sorry to all you TSM, but not to reopen that wound, but that didn't work out. Didn't work out for me.
This is it. All I will say about TSM is what I said what might happen, what was my fear, happened, which is they suck at best of ones. That was, if they could get out of groups, they'd be fine, but because they suck at best of ones, they're out. Okay, good. That's all I'll say.
Nah,
I think they were doing well in the best of ones. My only problem is double as shit the bed game after game.
Oh, shots fired. He's not engaging. He's not engaging.
I stand by my argument, and that's all I'm saying.
All right, okay. Well.
He knew it too. In the after game interview on one of their first wins, he knew it, and he made the same mistakes in the games coming after that as well. So.
Yeah, I think that what I will say about TSM though is with Biofrost, like I think he's going to be much better. I think it's important to know that guy got to Worlds like the first time, and like he's never been there.
Stomped. He really did. Like Biofrost needed to get stomped.
Maybe he needed that slap around to sort of make him like realize what was going on.
Did he have attitude issues?
No, it's just mature. It's just a matter of like general maturity,
knowing like work ethic and things like that. Like, wow, okay. Because
it is easy to get a kind of a big head, even if you're trying not to. Just think like, yeah, I'm good because I'm, our team's doing well, and then all of a sudden Mata comes in with Alistar,
just wrecks you, just claps you, like,
yeah, that's a world class support right there.
Yeah, so that's why I agree that Biofrost will come back stronger because he's now learned.
Yeah, he is the best Alistar in the world.
And learn today.
Yeah, I'm gonna show you. Like, and if someone is gonna teach you what it's like to play at Worlds, it's gonna be Mata on Alistar. Like, if Mata comes in on Alistar, you better be ready to play and you better know what you're doing because that guy's been playing Alistar for a while. So
we'll clearly ban that champion.
Yeah, or ban. I mean, but the funny thing is like, was Alistar? I don't think Alistar was like as seen as a big pick before Worlds, right? Like, I mean, I don't know that he was like on the top list.
Everyone was unsure what the support meta was going to be.
Yeah. So, all right. So do we want to do? That's actually a good segue into the picks that came out of Worlds. So let's do that. So let's talk about a little bit about what champions showed up at Worlds that you guys didn't expect to see and were big. Obviously, Alistar is one of them. We didn't know, but Alistar is sort of one of those champs that's sort of like always kind of good. he always kind of has a place. So it's not like a huge surprise that people are Alistair. I think his win rate is a surprise. I think at one point he had like an 85% win rate at Worlds. It's just crazy.
It was like, and that was only because INTZ shoot the bed when they picked him to put like that win rate kind of basically into like not godlike territory, and it was still like really, really high. Otherwise, I think it'd be either 85 plus or 90%.
Yeah,
something disgusting.
Just crazy. Yeah, I mean he's really good. So
the only picks that surprised me, like that I really like was like, what, really? Nocturne, Skarner, and Syndra, I think are really the only three that I just did not expect. I think people had talked about Syndra. It's just me personally because of what I had been seeing.
Yeah,
I didn't realize it was coming. But those other three were the big ones that are like.
I think for me, okay. The one that stood out the most to me was Kennen. And I think people knew Kennen was good, and he always kind of shows up on the world stage. But I didn't expect him to be like pick ban. He is the priority to be top laner, right? Like he was instantly like after
Rumble.
Yeah, him and Rumble. I mean, Rumble is always sort of always up there, it feels like. And he just recently got some buffs, right? Like I think they buffed Rumble. But Kennen, I mean, Kennen's always sort of around and he gets picked versus certain champions, but he is like a priority top laner.
Yes, he is. I was very surprised and very, very pleased to see that Nami was picked a lot.
That's another big thing.
And she was prioritized too. She was picked first pick or second pick quite a lot. There were very, very, very many games where she was picked. The bot lane was basically picked first.
Yeah, and they were picking her over other supports, right?
Yeah, Bana was picking her too whenever they would take Alistair or bend away.
Because her heal is not just a heal, but it also, every part of her kit is really good in this meta.
But she disappeared for a while. Like, she was just poof. Like, you never saw Nami's for it's been a good year since I had seen a Nami in solo queue. I mean, it was a long time. And when someone would pick her up, I'd be like, oh yeah, forgot that champion existed. When she was pick ban for a long time.
My favorite champion to come out is actually Lee Sin, because of the plays.
Yeah,
he's always there though.
He's always there.
Yeah,
but man, that W buff was just enough. He's always on that razor's edge, right?
You got to see people like Svenskeren play him, and it was just so much fun to watch. Lee Sin just adds because he's been out of the meta for pretty much all season. Really, he hasn't been prioritized, and yet all of a sudden now he's super He was super prevalent, and I just loved it. I loved the plays with Lee Sin.
Yeah, you liked watching that Revolta game?
The Revolta game
where he popped off, my lord.
Go off, it was just great.
Aaron was very, very impressive this tournament.
Yeah,
yeah,
he was very, very good. But
I was very surprised to see Skarner as well. It is upsetting though seeing Lee Sin on the world stage again and seeing Elise on the world stage again.
And Rek'Sai.
And Rek'Sai.
Fair bit of Rek'Sai, yeah.
Told you she was still going to be picked ban.
Yep, still there, yep. So, which is crazy. I mean, it's just the way the jungle works, man. There's always going to be those big champions, and
their kits are so good for it.
Yep. Sadly, the Meteos couldn't get the Zac in, as much as I think he would have liked. I think he was getting pretty target banned on that.
I really wish that we had seen Vi. I know she doesn't I really wish that we had seen.
I actually thought we were going to see more Vi, because Vi, traditionally has been a reasonable pick in pro play, and with those buffs, I thought for sure she was going to be there. But
if they have a particularly talented ADC, the thing is, I think Vi is picked a lot in pro play to counter the Vayne players, the best Vayne players in the world. Because you do need that ability to just make them die, because if you give them the ability to outplay you, they're going to do it quite a lot. It makes team fights a ginormous headache.
Yeah,
except that even Vi is outplayable with her ult, because you can condemn her out of it.
Yeah.
If you time it right. Yeah, if you time it right where she's behind you but about to slam you down, any CC will work on her right then.
You just have to be sneaky.
Yeah. Tristana, ult, Vayne, condemn, all of that. So if you know that, and chances are a pro player does, that sucks.
Today I learned.
Yeah.
All right.
I found it out recently.
So there you go. That's Worlds. That's our Worlds minute. Let's go ahead and do the picks real fast. Let's get through this because we got a lot of listener questions to get to. So my picks real fast are, I have Royal, beating SKT because I'm a huge Royal fan. I don't think that's really. I would love to see that happen because I don't want to see SKT win again. I think Royal's a chance to get them. And then I picked Rox to beat Edward, and then I have Samsung Galaxy beating Cloud9, sadly, and I have Albus Nox actually, going forward, and then I have RNG playing Samsung in the final, and I obviously have, RNG winning the entire tournament. So, all right, what do you got?
Okay, so I think even though Albus is like kind of cheesy and people don't really know them all that well, I think they are still playing at the level that a world's class team needs to play to continue to progress in this tournament.
Yeah.
And that's why I've been really solid with them. And I like the fact that they have a bunch of very strange niche picks that they can pull out and people are, not accustomed to in all their world's preparation. That's not something they probably particularly looked at. Like, do you think anybody screamed against support fucking brand preparation for the worlds? Nobody did. So when he brought it out, it got banned against him every single game afterwards. So I'm hoping that in the best of 5, that better teams will adjust. I think I'm almost sure that they will beat H2K, but I'm not sure how much further they can go after that.
Yeah, I don't think they can beat Samsung because I think
so.
Sadly, I think if Cloud9 makes it there, I think Albus Nox can actually beat Cloud9, but I don't think they can beat Samsung. So, but I think Cloud9 has a shot against Samsung, right? Like, I mean,
yeah, I agree. It's very small though. It's like one of those things where like Samsung on a bad day can be beaten by C9 on a good day.
Yeah.
But I think that's like the only chance that they really have. I think if both teams are playing as they should, Samsung will beat them, 8 out of 10 times. So I think that one is C9 has a chance, and come on, Worlds for NA. I'd really like to
Worlds. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. But I do not think that they will win, but they do have a chance.
All right. So what are your picks?
Yeah. Wait, my picks are.
Yeah. Give me yours. Give me yours, Projector.
All right. So my picks: SKT. I think Rox is gonna, which I would be fine with if we see Koreans go all out in the semis.
I think a lot of people. I think a lot of Korean fanboys were really sad to see that draw right there. Like to see SKT and Rox in the same thing.
I'm super happy about it. I really did not watch last season's final because it was Korean versus Korean team, and I could not give a shit. I was like,
even if that happens, there's a chance if Galaxy goes all the way. But anyway, so Rox and SKT, and then I just because what's Worlds without a little bit of faith, C9 beating Galaxy. I'm needing to enact that faith right about now. And then actually, I think Albus is untested in best of series. I think that they've relied on a lot of cheese and otherwise. And even though I think H2K will struggle for one game, maybe two, but I think H2K will take it because they have more experience between all of them, and especially in a series at this level. So I think H2K has the edge in series. Best of ones, I think Nox would take them, but
yeah. So. All right. What about you, James? What do you got?
Unfortunately, SKT only because RNG has been they've been playing particularly sloppy. And SK2 has been too. So don't get me wrong. Like both these teams have looked pretty unimpressive this tournament. I'm not gonna lie. But I think if both teams get their shit together and prep for each other, like I know they will, I think RNG still has a good shot of being SKT. But I think it's like probably like 60-40 or 65-35. You know. Rox, I think, is just going to be EDG. EDG has been playing particularly sloppy. So a lot of the teams that are in this quarterfinals have played pretty mediocrely throughout this entire tournament so far. I'm really surprised a lot of these teams are still here.
Yeah,
but it did look like a lot of the teams.
I think that's a result of the group. That feels like that's a result of the group format, though. It's like groups, and like the Korean teams don't traditionally play well in groups. They kind of just like goof around, and they're like, okay, Also, I think it's best of ones. Yeah. So like
they don't want to do any of the niche bits to like just share things.
We'll just overpower them. Yeah, and like if we don't, that's okay because we've got more games. Yeah.
I think Rox is very very favored to beat EDG.
Yep.
EDG is just by far a weaker team overall on individual level, but they're also been playing sloppier. So I think Rox has a really good chance of winning that one.
Yep.
Albus Nox, I think Albus Nox will actually beat H2K. So they have played in series like best of 5s and best of 3s before, and I know that was in the wildcard tournament in order to advance to this tournament in the first place. So they do have some experience there, not nearly as much as H2K does, but they at least have some. and they are untested. But the thing is, like, that's what I was saying earlier, like that they are playing at that. Like, they're not just like a cheese team and like no one knows who they are, and it's like kaboom where they got that one win. You know what I mean? Where it's like something weird. It's like they are like playing at that level. They're like, and they have access to those cheese picks and people things that have not prepared for. So I think if they either practice something or preparation get really hard, they can really probably get 1 to 2 wins off of some just doing like that. And obviously in a best of 5, that's huge. So I think Albus Knox is favored in this matchup, but it definitely could go either way. As long as HUK is playing at that top level, Albus Knox will be challenged, and it is very, very close. Like, I'm talking like 55-55 or 50-50 or 45-55.
Mm-hmm.
And Samsung Galaxy versus Cloud9, like I said, good day, bad day. They have potential to win, but it's very unlikely.
Yeah. We'll see. I hope that...
It depends on which H2K shows up.
Yeah.
If it's week 1 or week 2 H2K.
Yeah.
They looked real good down the stretch, man. Like, to win an in, like, they looked real good. So, all right. So,
point to bring up too that they've got their confidence up from that basically that win streak in order to get there.
yep. So we'll see.
Possible.
All right. So that's Worlds. Like, go NA. You know, I hope you get there. All right. So going right into the listener questions, let's kind of breeze through these. I'm gonna just kind of jump around here. So, the first question comes from Rudy, and he says, "Do you think Ivern will become involved in the pro scene next season?" I think this is a relatively hard to judge question, but I think like currently in his current state, no. His win rate's really low. He's undertuned. I think they'll buff him. It'll depend on like what happens in the off season. Also,
I've played a single game with him so far.
he is extremely weak. And
Seems like it.
he's weird.
I feel like
so-
he's an Aurelian Soul type of deal where the more games you get with him, all of a sudden he's going to be like, oh, this is really good. That's what I think. But
yeah. So I mean, we'll
see
see.
him working exactly like Aurelian Soul. He'll be anonymous. Then all of a sudden, like,
All of a sudden, everyone will be like, "Oh my gosh, this champion's so broken!" Yeah.
like because your whole team has to learn how to play with Ivern because of his Q and some of his other stuff. Like you've really your whole team has to learn how to use that bush mechanic. So I think there will be some really good strategies that come out of it. But when his numbers get tuned a little bit more, I think that's when we see him.
I will say that the most frustrating thing in the universe is when he puts a bush on Baron and they're trying to take Baron because you can't see it. And it is super frustrating.
And you have to stand inside the bush. Oh,
No, you have to be inside that bush. So if you're outside the pit, you can't steal Baron. You can't see the life total. So you're just like, you just see a bush. And it's like, what? It's super frustrating.
man, that's very, very annoying.
It's very annoying. So like that, I mean, alone, maybe it's going to be like Rise, where like Rise, they didn't pick him up for a long time. And now we're starting to see Rise in Worlds. I mean, we kind of knew Rise was going to come out in Worlds, but like they weren't playing him a lot, and maybe that's how it'll be. So Projector, yes. What do you think, Contractor?
I don't know. Like I said, I
Maybe.
I actually have no input in this. Like I said, I have not got.
You've never played against him? Okay. All right, he's interesting, so we'll see. I think we're really early for that one. Also, like off-season changes, things like that. So, all right. How about question 1, Projector? Can you hit that one?
Yeah. All right. So, Liger Fury writes us again, and he had a great question last time. Do you guys think that we're on a balanced patch? What do you think Riot should do to have the most leveled playing field? I think balancing champions and items is impossible because if one item is good on someone, it would be OP on another one. So what do you guys think?
I'll let Contractor hit this one first. He's the balance master.
So,
do you think we're on a balanced patch? I think let's go for the first balanced patch. I don't think any of the patches are balanced, right? Like overall.
The point of the patch is this.
That's all, is to rotate like what's good and what's bad, right?
I think Riot's intention is of rotating it so that basically we can see new champions. But I think balance is not particularly their goal.
It's not their goal. It's freshness, right? It's new, interesting, and exciting. Like not balanced. Like there's a reason that Lee Sin has been good for so long, and it's not because he's balanced. Okay, it's not it's not that. It's that it's just because he's super fun to watch, and there's reasons that like Sejuani is not. It gets nerfed like into the ground the second that she gets good, because you know what, watching Sejuani is super boring because she doesn't do it. It's not fun to play. Like she's kind of boring to play. Like she just kind of turtles around, and like that's also why Rammus stayed the same way he was forever. I mean, Rammus like didn't get touched for like 2 seasons, and he had like the highest win rate in the game. Like he was crazy, and we were always like, Rammus is OP, and it's like, yeah, but Rammus is super boring, and like nobody plays him, so the pros don't play him. It's not exciting. Who cares?
I think as far as champions go, like it's pretty balanced right now. There are some tweaks that you made to like stuff like Jhin and Syndra or whatever, like small balance changes, just to keep them in line with not being like just so horrendously better than everyone else. I think items are the things that are not balanced right now.
Cleaver.
They're doing stuff like they're doing stuff like removing Aegis, Cleaver having way too much CDR on it, GA. Item. So my problem is right now is the items in the game are for maybe for melee or tanks in particular, which is usually always my problem, are efficient enough that you can afford to go third item GA on almost everyone, and there is no repercussions for it.
Yeah.
Now, granted, GA is pretty cheap, but at the same time, when you can go and buy GA third item because your first 2 items are so efficient that you don't need anything else, and that GA just revival, just that, is powerful enough. That's a problem.
I've been doing that actually super frequently on Lee, where I go CDR boots. I go warrior CDR boots, and then I build the chain vest. And then a lot of times I build that chain vest. I do a GA sometimes, depending on how the game's going, and it's fine. Like it works. So
yeah, you still have all the damage and all the utility you need, and you have all the CDR from the items that you get previously, and then you set a GA.
Yep. See, I think my favorite patch to play on as far as balance, where I felt like I had the most options, I think was 6.19 or 6.18. So the patches before, like there are some OPs on every patch, but like there was some that were just a nightmare, especially with the mage update, where Vlad was ridiculous, Malzahar was 99, like a 90% ban.
Sure.
But I think 6.18 and 19 were the 2 patches that I felt like I had a ton of issues. There was no picks that I was actually super scared of. I think there are some threats that have been consistent throughout the entire season. GP has been a big one where it's like, yeah, just auto ban that. But I think 6.18 and 19 where I don't like this patch that much at all. So.
Yeah, I think it's important, like as an overall question. So that's a really good question. I think it's really important to remember that balanced isn't a lot of what they go for. So they balance the game for pro play to an extent, but they also want to make it so that it's interesting and that new champions get played. So like everybody's like, why do new champions come out? And they're like crazy overpowered, and it's because they want those new champions to be good. Although Ivern obviously clearly is not. I would actually prefer that they balance this way, the way they have with Ivern, where he came out like really weak, and they're like, let it ride out and see if he's good, because maybe like you said, it'll be an Aurelion Souls type situation where people will be like, oh my gosh, this guy's actually stupid busted, and then they have to nerf him after somebody's been like slogging away for like 3 months playing the same champion, and like everybody was pooping on him for it. So just realize that balanced is only like this patch. Like what's good. Just stop thinking about whether the game is balanced and start thinking about what can I win on this patch. And you'll be a lot happier. I
think there's also an issue with new champions in particular, that they need to either to be either overpowered or like basically like good enough to play off at the gate, because they need the information. If people don't play it because it's either too broken or it's not good enough, like how are they going to get the reps in and get those numbers from the win percentages and basically the damage numbers and how useful the champion is in the game, and basically get people's opinions on how to balance the champion if no one plays them? You mean?
Yeah.
Like they need information to go forward on. They need people to play the champions. They know what to fix on them if there is a problem.
Yeah, I would agree.
I think, and releasing a champion has way more than just like, are their numbers okay? You've got what meta are they being released into? You release an assassin when it's nothing but tanks being played all the time, or in a meta where GA is super strong and all this is, maybe that champ's win rate's it's more than just about their numbers. It's also when you're releasing the champion. So that's there's just so much more. So I appreciate them being underpowered at first and then being tuned up rather than the other way around.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I would much rather see a champion like come out and be hard to play, because people play the new ones anyway. Like, regardless, people aren't looking at Ivern's win rate before they play him. You know, they're just going and trying to play him, and because he's new. Man. Yeah, he's new and he's interesting, and I've absolutely played a game or two with him. He's okay. Like, it's interesting. The mechanic is really interesting. I have no idea like if what I'm doing is correct, which I think is interesting. I think the weirdness with that champion that I initially like really hated is interesting. I don't particularly like the bush mechanic. I think you'll start to see that down the road being like really overpowered, but I'll tell you, them putting a bush on Baron so that I couldn't even see it didn't feel very fun. Like, it felt real unfun.
And there's no trade-off for him using those bushes. There's no...
Yeah.
It's like, I'm free denying your vision.
Yeah, it's not cool. Also, when they set up a siege line with those bushes in the right spot, it's super oppressive. And they're like, their ADC's just sitting in that line of bushes, and you don't know where exactly he is. And he's just outside of, like, safe reach, where if you move up, you'll get, like, engaged on. So you can't, like, see him. It can be sort of frustrating. So we'll see. I mean, maybe he gets better, but I think balancing is a tough thing. But just remember that the biggest thing I would say is balance is not the goal. It's making the game exciting.
A good question to ask every patch is, what do I need to do to be successful this patch? Not even like, what do I need to pick to win? Just, what do I need to do to be successful here?
Yep,
that's a very good point.
Do I need to ban this? Do I need to play this lane differently? Do I need to focus more on TPs or less on them?
Maybe I need to play a different champ. Maybe I need to build them differently.
Yeah,
and the thing is, like, you can change your champion pool to also reflect the champions that are OP or that are very strong right now. Like, someone who recently got buffed, you could make the decision, because you're going to see a lot of them, to practice someone who is good against those champions, because when they do pick them, you basically you have a good option to counter jungle them, or sorry, not counter jungle them, counter pick them in champ select, and you already know what to do against them, and they don't. So that gives you like a good leg up to kind of get ahead of the position, because people are going to play those OP champions. So
Yep, absolutely. So that's a great question. So I think we're gonna call Liger Fury the winner here. Thanks a lot. We appreciate you sending in that question. Liger, I believe you're North America, so I'll try to send you a message. If not, I'll email you back, and we'll figure out how to get that RP to you. He is the winner of the $10 RP giveaway we do every week. So hey, if you want a question answered, if you like that, if you're like, man, I wish they would answer this question, please send it in. summonersift@gmail.com. Really easy to remember. It's just the name of the podcast at gmail.com. We pick a couple every week to read on air, and then we pick one, and that question wins $10 in RP. So easy enough. Get some skins for free. So maybe you want to buy Ivern and win 30% of your games. I don't know. So I mean, hey, you got to do something, right? All right, so I think that's going to be our cast for today. I really appreciate you coming out. Apologies again for last week. It was kind of a bummer that we couldn't cast for Hurricanes, but trust me, unless a giant storm threatens to destroy our state, we will be here every week bringing you League of Legends news. So, all right, so ways to find us. So you can subscribe to us on iTunes. Very easy. Just search for Summoner Sift. You can go to summonersift.com. We actually have a blog post there that we post all the live stuff, and we also post the cast every week. You can go to the RSS feed. You can go to the RSS feed there. You can go on Stitcher. You can subscribe there. Please rate and review us on iTunes. We would love that. We did get a rating. It was really good. We love you. You're the best. I'm actually going to read it next time. I forgot. But don't worry, I saw it. It was really good. Please go review us. And that's all I have for this evening. We'll have a bright, new, shiny intro next week.
Yes,
Ooh, exciting. It's really good, too. I think a lot of people will be really shocked at it, but it's really awesome. So
yeah, it's going to be really awesome.
We're going to try to fit it into this cast, but I don't know yet. I haven't gotten the actual final version of the intro, so we probably won't see it, but you will have it next week, and it's hot. It's really good. So all right, guys, thank you so much. Do you guys have any final thoughts, Projector? What do you got?
Just keep trying new things and keep trying to see how you can play this game better and how you can be successful.
All right, and final thoughts, Contractor. What do you got?
I think we made a really good point of adapting from patch to patch and basically just using that as a very good tool to help you climb.
All right, and my final thoughts are go NA! I hope it works. All right, guys. C9, please. Please. All right. Have a great night, folks. That's Summoner's Sift. We love you. We'll see you next week.